Welcome to Midnight Mysteries. If you feel like listening to a horror story, you're in the right place. Fall asleep listening to horror stories and the relaxing sound of rain. Story 1. The Note on the Windshield. The sun hung low in the sky, casting long shadows across the rugged terrain as I ventured deeper into the remote wilderness. It was a crisp autumn day, the air tinged with the earthy scent of fallen leaves and the promise of impending winter. This hike was meant to be a personal pilgrimage, an escape from the demands of daily life into the untamed beauty of nature's embrace. The trail wound through dense forests and rocky outcrops, leading me deeper into the heart of the solitude I craved. Each step brought me closer to the tranquility I sought, a respite from the noise and chaos of civilization. The landscape unfolded before me in a tapestry of golden hues and vibrant greens, a testament to nature's artistry and resilience. As I tread along the narrow path, the weight of the world seemed to lift from my shoulders with each breath of crisp mountain air. It was a familiar sensation, a communion with the wilderness that never failed to rejuvenate my spirit and soothe my restless soul. Yet amidst the serenity of the mountains, an unsettling encounter awaited me, a harbinger of danger lurking beneath the veneer of natural beauty. Rounding a bend in the trail, I caught sight of a figure perched on a large boulder ahead. A solitary man, his presence incongruous in this remote corner of the world. He sat motionless, his gaze fixed intently on me as I approached, a piercing stare that sent a chill down my spine. Instinctively, I slowed my pace, uncertainty gnawing at me as I evaluated the situation. Was he another hiker seeking solitude like myself, or something more sinister concealed beneath a facade of casual indifference? A flicker of unease stirred within me, a primal instinct warning of potential danger. I offered a tentative nod in passing, my greeting met with silence as his eyes followed my every move with unsettling intensity. It was a gaze that lingered, far beyond the boundaries of mere curiosity. Unease turned to apprehension as I continued on my path, the weight of his stare lingering like a shadow in my thoughts. With each step, the feeling of being watched intensified, a palpable presence that seemed to trail my every movement through the wilderness. A sense of vulnerability gripped me, a solitary traveler in a vast expanse of untamed wilderness with no one to witness or intervene if danger were to strike. The rustling of leaves in the breeze became a symphony of suspicion, every rustle and crackle magnified in the stillness of the afternoon. Deciding that prudence was the better part of valor, I made the decision to turn back, my intended sanctuary now tainted by the specter of unease. Retracing my steps, I quickened my pace, each footfall echoing loudly in the silence that enveloped the forest. Yet despite my efforts to distance myself from the unsettling encounter, a haunting sensation persisted, the feeling of being followed. It started as a faint rustling, a whisper of footsteps that echoed mine with uncanny precision. Panic surged through me, adrenaline flooding my veins as I dared a glance over my shoulder. There, amidst the dappled light filtering through the canopy above, I caught sight of movement, a shadowy figure matching my stride with eerie determination. Fear seized me, a primal instinct urging flight as I broke into a sprint, my pulse racing with the urgency of survival. Branches whipped past in a blur, the trail a frenzied labyrinth of obstacles in my desperate bid for escape. Yet with each stride, the footsteps behind me persisted, relentless, inexorable, closing the distance with alarming swiftness. My breath came in ragged gasps, lungs burning with exertion as I fought against the suffocating grip of fear. The landscape blurred in my peripheral vision, a whirlwind of earth and sky as I raced towards the sanctuary of my car, a beacon of safety amidst the chaos that unfolded behind me. Finally, I burst through the tree line, the clearing opening up to reveal the familiar silhouette of my vehicle, a lone sentinel against the encroaching darkness. With trembling hands, I fumbled for my keys, the metallic jangle a discordant symphony in the stillness of the wilderness. As I slid behind the wheel and slammed the door shut, relief washed over me in a deluge, a flood of emotion as I turned the ignition and peeled away from the trailhead. The engine roared to life, a reassuring rumble that drowned out the echoes of pursuit that lingered in the recesses of my mind. It was only later, in the safety of civilization, that I dared to reflect on the harrowing ordeal that had unfolded in the wild. The man on the boulder, the watcher in the shadows, remained an enigma, his intentions shrouded in mystery and speculation. Had it been a chance encounter fueled by curiosity, or something more sinister? A predator lying in wait amidst the solitude of the mountains? The experience left an indelible mark, a cautionary tale of vigilance and vulnerability in the face of the unknown. I vowed never to hike alone again, the allure of solitude overshadowed by the stark reality of danger lurking just beyond the beaten path. In the days that followed, I sought solace in the company of friends and fellow adventurers, safety in numbers, and the reassurance of shared experiences. The mountains, once a sanctuary of solace and serenity, had become a realm of caution and vigilance, a reminder that even in the embrace of nature's beauty, dangers unseen may lurk, waiting to unsettle the unwary traveler. And so, with each passing day, I carried the memory of that fateful hike, a testament to the resilience forged in the crucible of fear and the determination to reclaim peace of mind amid the uncertainty of life's unpredictable journey through the wilderness. Story 2. The Haunting in the Night. Driving home late at night had always been a solitary ritual for me, a quiet interlude between the cacophony of daily life and the sanctuary of home. On this particular evening, however, that comforting solitude gave way to a chilling encounter that would etch itself into my memory with indelible clarity. The day had been long and arduous, marked by relentless deadlines and responsibilities that seemed to stretch into infinity. By the time evening descended like a velvet curtain over the cityscape, I yearned for nothing more than the familiar embrace of home, a sanctuary where the tumult of the outside world yielded to the solace of familiarity. The streets were bathed in the soft luminescence of streetlights, casting elongated shadows that danced along the edges of my vision as I navigated the labyrinth of urban thoroughfares. The rhythmic hum of the engine provided a steady backdrop to my thoughts, a soothing cadence that mirrored the gentle ebb and flow of the city's nocturnal symphony. It was amidst this nocturnal tranquility that I first noticed it, a subtle shift in the rhythm of the night, a presence that mirrored my every turn with unsettling precision. At first, I dismissed it as a mere coincidence, a passing vehicle navigating the same streets in pursuit of its own destination. Yet as minutes stretched into tense silence, the realization dawned on me. The car behind me was following my every move with unnerving persistence. Adrenaline surged through my veins, a primal instinct triggered by the encroaching threat that loomed ominously at the edge of my awareness. With trembling hands, I adjusted my grip on the steering wheel, fingers tracing its familiar contours as if seeking solace in the tactile reassurance it provided. In a desperate bid to evade my pursuer, I took a series of sharp turns, zigzagging through the network of streets with frenetic determination. Yet, like a shadowy specter haunting the fringes of my consciousness, the car remained steadfast in its pursuit, a relentless harbinger of unseen peril that refused to be shaken. Fueled by mounting trepidation, I sought refuge in the sanctuary of a well-lit gas station, a beacon of safety amidst the encroaching shadows of uncertainty. The fluorescent lights cast a stark contrast against the cloak of darkness, illuminating the expanse of asphalt with unwavering intensity. With trembling hands, I pulled into an empty pump, the engine idling in a symphony of mechanical resonance that echoed through the stillness of the night. The car behind me hesitated for a fleeting moment, its headlights casting a luminous halo that shimmered against the frosted glass of the station's facade. And then, as if acquiescing to the sanctuary of illumination, it turned sharply and vanished into the labyrinth of urban anonymity. Relief washed over me in a tidal wave of emotion, a visceral response to the respite that had been forged amidst the crucible of uncertainty. With hesitant steps, I emerged from the confines of my vehicle, feet tracing the familiar contours of asphalt with a newfound sense of purpose and resolve. It was then, amidst the quiet solitude of the gas station, that I noticed it, a slip of paper affixed to the windshield of my car, fluttering gently in the nocturnal breeze like a harbinger of foreboding. With trembling hands, I retrieved the note, an innocuous piece of paper imbued with ominous intent that sent a shiver of apprehension coursing through my veins. "Next time you won't be so lucky." The words were etched with deliberate clarity, a chilling ultimatum that resonated with the weight of impending peril. Fear gripped my senses, a visceral acknowledgement of the unseen threat that had encroached upon the fragile sanctuary of my existence. Heart pounding against my ribs, I reported the incident to the local authorities, a process of bureaucratic formality that paled in comparison to the disquieting uncertainty that lingered within. Statements were taken, assurances offered. Yet despite their promises of diligence, closure remained elusive, a nebulous concept adrift in a sea of unanswered questions. Days turned into weeks, each passing moment punctuated by the haunting memory of that fateful encounter. The slip of paper fluttering in the nocturnal breeze, the veiled threat that had breached the sanctity of familiarity. Sleep became a fleeting luxury, each night plagued by nightmares that revisited the horrors of that solitary note, a chilling testament to the fragility of security in a world fraught with unseen perils. Life resumed its course, albeit with a newfound weariness and vigilance, a testament to the enduring legacy of that harrowing night. The streets, once traversed with carefree abandon, now bore the weight of suspicion, every passing stranger a potential threat, every shadow a specter of unseen danger. As I navigated the familiar corridors of my daily existence, I carried with me the scars of that fateful encounter, a cautionary tale whispered in hushed tones among friends and family, a reminder of the fragile boundary between safety and peril. The note had been a harbinger of foreboding, a stark reminder of the vulnerability that lurked beneath the veneer of urban anonymity. Yet amidst the echoes of that harrowing night, there bloomed a quiet resolve, a resilience forged in the crucible of adversity and fear. The specter of that solitary note would forever haunt the recesses of my consciousness, a chilling testament to the fragility of security in a world shadowed by the unseen perils that lurked just beyond the reach of familiarity. Story 3: The Shadow at the Gas Station. The concert hall buzzed with energy as I navigated through a sea of excited concertgoers, the thumping bass reverberating through the air like the heartbeat of anticipation. Lights danced overhead, casting vibrant hues across the crowd, while the collective hum of conversations mingled with the distant echoes of musical notes. I had arrived with friends earlier in the evening, eager to immerse ourselves in the pulsating rhythm of live music and the camaraderie of shared experiences. The venue was packed, bodies swaying in unison to the melodic strains emanating from the stage, creating an atmosphere charged with euphoria and excitement. As the night progressed, however, the concert hall became a labyrinth of twists and turns, each corridor seemingly leading to another pocket of enthusiastic fans or a concession stand bustling with activity. It was in one of these moments, amidst the clamor and chaos, that I found myself inadvertently separated from my friends. Initially unfazed, I navigated through the throng with determined steps, scanning the sea of faces for familiar smiles or gestures. The music pounded in my ears, a steady beat that mirrored the quickening pace of my heart as minutes stretched into an eternity of searching. It was then that he appeared, a man whose presence seemed to materialize out of the crowd like a shadow cast by the stage lights. He was tall, with a disarming smile that bordered on overly friendly, his features softened by the glow of neon and the flicker of overhead screens. "Lost?" he asked casually, his voice carrying above the din of the crowd. There was something disarming about his demeanor, a charm that belied an underlying sense of unease that prickled at the edges of my consciousness. "Just looking for my friends," I replied cautiously, my gaze shifting past him in search of familiar faces. His smile widened, a gesture that felt more predatory than reassuring. As he edged closer, his presence imposing against the backdrop of pulsating lights and frenzied energy. "I can help you find them," he offered smoothly, his tone laced with an insistence that set off warning bells in the recesses of my mind. Instinctively, I took a step back, my pulse quickening with a mixture of apprehension and unease. "No, thank you," I responded firmly, the weight of his gaze lingering like an unspoken challenge. Ignoring the uneasy knot tightening in my stomach, I pivoted on my heel and resumed my search through the crowd, my senses on high alert for any sign of familiar faces or sanctuary amidst the chaos. To my dismay, however, the man persisted, a persistent shadow that seemed to dog my footsteps with unwavering determination. With each passing moment, his offers of assistance grew more insistent, his proximity increasingly suffocating as he maneuvered through the crowd with disconcerting ease. Minutes stretched into an eternity as I navigated through the labyrinthine corridors of the concert hall, my heart racing with a mixture of frustration and apprehension. His presence, once a mere inconvenience, now loomed like a specter at the edge of my consciousness, a reminder of vulnerability in the face of unfamiliar surroundings. It was a stroke of luck, or perhaps fate, that led me back to the familiar faces of my friends, their relief palpable as we reunited amidst the cacophony of music and laughter. The man, whose presence had been an unsettling shadow throughout my search, melted into the crowd with a practiced ease, disappearing into the throng like a phantom. Relief washed over me like a tidal wave as I recounted the unsettling encounter to my friends, their expressions mirroring my own sense of unease and disbelief. We exchanged nervous laughter, the lingering tension dissipating amidst the comfort of familiarity and shared experiences. It wasn't until later that night, in the quiet solitude of my own thoughts, that the gravity of the situation fully sank in. As I settled into the sanctuary of my home, I idly flipped through the channels on the television, the rhythmic pulse of the news capturing my attention with chilling clarity. Authorities are urging concertgoers to remain vigilant following reports of a man matching this description who has been linked to a series of abductions at similar events. The news anchor intoned gravely, the screen flickering with images of crowded venues and flashing police lights. My blood ran cold as the realization struck. A man whose smile had masked an insidious intent had been lurking in the shadows of the concert hall, his presence a harbinger of danger amidst the revelry and celebration. The hairs on the back of my neck prickled with a visceral sense of dread, the memory of his unwavering pursuit echoing like a haunting refrain in the recesses of my mind. In the days that followed, I found myself grappling with the aftermath of that fateful night. A renewed awareness of personal safety and the sobering reality of vulnerability in crowded spaces. The encounter had left an indelible mark on my consciousness, a reminder of the fragile balance between trust and vigilance in an increasingly unpredictable world. As I reflected on the events that had transpired, I found solace in the unwavering support of friends and loved ones, their presence a comforting anchor amidst the lingering echoes of fear and uncertainty. Together, we navigated the complexities of processing such a harrowing experience, drawing strength from shared experiences and a collective determination to remain vigilant against the shadows that lurked beyond the spotlight of public scrutiny. The memory of that unsettling encounter continues to serve as a cautionary tale, a testament to the importance of trusting one's instincts and prioritizing personal safety in the face of unforeseen peril. And as I navigate the winding paths of life, I carry with me a solemn vow to never underestimate the dangers that can lurk beneath the surface of seemingly ordinary moments, forever vigilant against the shadows that threaten to obscure the light of shared experiences and celebration. Story 4. The Silent Pursuer. The hotel stood as a beacon of comfort amidst the bustling city, its imposing facade gleaming under the glow of streetlights that dotted the midnight skyline. It was a familiar routine, arriving late after a long day of meetings, eager to unwind in the quiet solitude of my room. Little did I know that this night would unravel into a chilling encounter that would haunt my thoughts long after the business trip concluded. Entering the hotel lobby, I exchanged weary nods with the night concierge, a brief interaction punctuated by the gentle hum of the revolving doors and the soft chime of elevators ferrying guests to their respective floors. The check-in process was swift, a seamless exchange of pleasantries and key cards that promised a restful night's sleep in the sanctuary of my room. Weary but determined to settle in, I navigated the corridors to my assigned floor, the hushed ambience a stark contrast to the daytime buzz that permeated the hotel's public spaces. The journey to my room was uneventful, each step a gradual release of tension accumulated throughout the day. Arriving at the door, I slid the key card into the lock with a sense of relief, eager to unwind within the confines of familiar surroundings. As I stepped into the dimly lit room, a wave of tranquility washed over me, the promise of solitude and reprieve from the demands of business negotiations and professional engagements. The city's distant murmur seeped through the partially drawn curtains, a reminder of the world outside that seemed to fade into insignificance within the confines of my temporary abode. Time passed unnoticed as I settled into a semblance of routine, the silence broken only by the occasional tap of fingers against the laptop keyboard. A last-minute email to colleagues, a quick review of tomorrow's itinerary, a final check of messages. Exhaustion threatened to claim me, its tendrils weaving a delicate tapestry of weariness that whispered of the need for rest. It was amidst this fragile balance of repose and lingering vigilance that I first heard it, a faint click, barely audible over the ambient hum of the air conditioning and muted city sounds. At first, I dismissed it as a figment of my fatigued imagination, a fleeting noise born of a mind weary from the day's endeavors. Yet when it came again, more pronounced and distinct, a chill crept down my spine. Instinctively, I rose from my seat, eyes scanning the room with heightened awareness as I sought to pinpoint the source of the disturbance. Silence descended like a veil, broken only by the rhythmic thud of my own heartbeat, a relentless cadence that mirrored the pulse of uncertainty coursing through me. Approaching the door with cautious steps, I peered through the peephole, a small portal to the world beyond. The distorted lens offered a limited view of the corridor outside, and what I saw sent a jolt of adrenaline through my veins. A man, his figure illuminated dimly by the corridor's muted lighting, hunched over with a key card in hand. For a moment, suspended in time, our eyes met through the distorted lens, a silent exchange of disbelief and realization that shattered the fragile peace of the night. His presence was unwelcome, his intent clear as he fumbled with the key card, attempting to gain unauthorized entry into my sanctum of solitude. "Hey!" I called out, my voice ringing with a mixture of alarm and defiance. The man startled, jerking back as if caught in the act of a forbidden transgression. His eyes widened with fleeting panic, the weight of guilt etched across his features before he turned on his heel and fled down the corridor, disappearing into the shadows with an agility that belied his earlier fumbling. Heart pounding against my rib cage, I wasted no time in alerting the hotel's front desk, a frantic call that conveyed the urgency of the situation unfolding within the confines of my room. The night concierge listened with solemn gravity, assuring me that no one should have been granted access to my floor at such a late hour. Minutes stretched into an eternity as I awaited the arrival of hotel security and local law enforcement, a testament to the profound vulnerability that now colored my perception of the once safe haven. When they arrived, their presence was a welcome reassurance amidst the lingering disquiet. A team of uniformed officers and security personnel who took my account with meticulous care, scrutinizing every detail of the man's fleeting intrusion. Their investigation yielded troubling revelations. The man had obtained a master key card through illicit means, exploiting a flaw in the hotel's security protocols that had allowed him access to restricted floors. Despite their best efforts, however, he remained elusive, a phantom figure who had vanished into the night, leaving behind only unanswered questions and a lingering sense of unease. In the aftermath of the incident, the hotel responded with swift measures to bolster security, a commitment to guest safety that saw the implementation of enhanced keycard systems, increased surveillance, and rigorous training for staff. Their proactive stance offered a semblance of closure amidst the residual unease that lingered in the wake of the unsettling breach. For me, the experience became a cautionary tale, a stark reminder of the vulnerabilities that accompany life on the road, from business trips to leisurely escapes. It prompted a reassessment of personal safety measures, from heightened vigilance in unfamiliar surroundings to advocating for greater awareness of security risks in hospitality settings. As I resumed my professional obligations and returned to the familiar rhythm of daily life, the memory of that night remained etched in my consciousness, a testament to the fragility of security and the resilience found in moments of adversity. It reinforced my belief in the importance of vigilance and preparedness, serving as a poignant reminder that safety is a privilege to be safeguarded, even within the confines of the most trusted sanctuaries. Story 5. The Midnight Call. The sun was beginning its slow descent behind the trees, casting a warm golden hue over Maplewood Park, where my daughter Sophie giggled with delight as she soared back and forth on the swings. Her laughter echoed through the park, a sound that brought a smile to my face as I watched her from a nearby bench. It was a peaceful afternoon, one of those rare moments of tranquility amidst the hustle and bustle of daily life. Sophie, at 7 years old, reveled in the simple joys of the playground, a place where her imagination could take flight and worries seemed distant. As I sat there, basking in the serene atmosphere, my gaze occasionally drifted to the other parents scattered around the park. Most were engrossed in conversations or keeping a watchful eye on their own children, their faces illuminated by the gentle glow of the setting sun. But then, amid the tranquil scene, I noticed him, a man standing near the edge of the playground, his presence oddly out of place. He was tall and slender, wearing a faded denim jacket and jeans that seemed slightly too big for his frame. His gaze was fixed on Sophie, a peculiar intensity in his eyes that sent a shiver down my spine. Instinctively, I straightened on the bench, a knot of unease tightening in my chest. Why was he staring at Sophie like that? What did he want? I forced myself to take a deep breath, telling myself it was probably nothing, just a passerby curious about the children playing. But as minutes passed, my unease grew. The man didn't move from his spot. Instead, he seemed to be inching closer, his strides purposeful yet unhurried. Every few seconds, his eyes darted towards Sophie, his expression unreadable. A wave of protectiveness surged through me. Without hesitation, I called out to Sophie, my voice gentle but firm, urging her to come back to me. She glanced at me, puzzled by the interruption in her play, but complied, swinging back toward where I sat. As Sophie approached, the man's demeanor shifted. He turned abruptly and began to walk away, his pace quickening as if trying to blend into the park's surroundings. My heart raced. What had he been planning to do? Why was he watching my daughter like that? Gathering my courage, I stood and hurried after Sophie, guiding her toward the safety of the playground equipment where other children and parents clustered. Glancing back, I saw the man disappearing into the park's winding paths, his figure gradually swallowed by the foliage. Fear gripped me as I realized the gravity of the situation. I needed to act. Scanning the park, I spotted a security guard patrolling nearby. With Sophie clinging to my hand, I rushed over and recounted what had happened, describing the man as best I could amidst the rising panic. The security guard nodded gravely, radioing for assistance while assuring me they would search the park thoroughly. Other parents nearby overheard our conversation, their expressions mirroring my own concern. It was a tight-knit community, and the safety of our children was paramount. Minutes stretched into eternity as we waited anxiously for news. The park seemed to hold its breath, the usual sounds of laughter and play muted by the tension that hung heavy in the air. Sophie clung to me, sensing my distress, her innocent curiosity replaced by an awareness beyond her years. Finally, the security team returned, their faces grim. They had searched every corner of the park, questioned nearby visitors, but found no trace of the man matching the description I had provided. It was as if he had vanished into thin air. I thanked the security team profusely, though my gratitude was tinged with unease. How had he managed to evade capture so effortlessly? What if he returned? The questions haunted me, overshadowing the remainder of our time at the park that evening. I held Sophie close, her small frame nestled against mine, as I struggled to make sense of what had transpired. She chattered happily about her day at the park, oblivious to the danger that had lurked so close. I listened, my thoughts elsewhere, my senses on high alert. In the days that followed, I became hypervigilant, always keeping Sophie within sight, never letting her out of arm's reach in public spaces. The incident at the park had shattered my sense of security, leaving me acutely aware of the vulnerabilities that surrounded us. Friends and family offered words of comfort, reassurances that incidents like these were rare anomalies in an otherwise safe world. But their words did little to ease my unease. The memory of that man's unsettling gaze was etched into my mind. Months passed, and the incident faded into the background of our lives. Sophie continued to play, her laughter ringing out once more in the park where she had once been watched so intently. I tried to reclaim a sense of normalcy, to let go of the fear that had gripped me that day. Yet beneath the surface, a vigilant watchfulness remained, a silent vow to protect Sophie at all costs, to shield her from the shadows that lurked beyond our sight. The park, once a place of joy and innocence, had become a reminder of the fragility of that innocence, of the dangers that could intrude upon our lives when least expected. To this day, I remain vigilant, my eyes scanning every crowd, every unfamiliar face, every shadow that crosses our path. The man at the park may have vanished, but his presence lingers, a stark reminder that vigilance and awareness are our greatest defenses in a world where innocence can be shattered in an instant. Story 6. The Haunted Concert. The night had begun like any other weekend outing with friends. A lively bar filled with the pulse of music and the sound of laughter echoing off the walls. We had gathered to unwind after a hectic work week, seeking solace in each other's company and the promise of a carefree evening. As the hours slipped by, the bar grew more crowded, the atmosphere charged with the energy of conversation and the clinking of glasses. Amidst the joviality, I found myself approached by a man whose confidence bordered on arrogance as he sidled up beside me at the bar. At first, his compliments were flattering, his attempts at charm almost endearing in their persistence. I smiled politely, declining his advances with a firm yet friendly demeanor. It was a dance I knew well, a delicate balance of rejecting unwanted attention without escalating tensions. However, my attempts to defuse the situation only seemed to fuel his determination. His persistence turned into aggression, his words slurring with each drink he consumed. Sensing the shift in his demeanor, I excused myself from the conversation, seeking refuge in the familiar comfort of my friend's company. We moved to a quieter corner of the bar, hoping to distance ourselves from the unwelcome attention. Yet, even as we laughed and chatted, a lingering unease settled over me like a shadow. When it was time to leave, I made a discreet exit, eager to put the unsettling encounter behind me. The cool night air offered a welcome reprieve as I stepped outside, the distant sounds of the city a soothing contrast to the crowded bar. I walked briskly, the heels of my shoes clicking against the pavement, my mind racing with thoughts of home and the safety it promised. It was then that I noticed him, a shadowy figure emerging from the dimly lit alleyway beside the bar. My heart skipped a beat as recognition dawned. It was the man from inside, his face contorted with a mix of determination and aggression. Panic surged through me, adrenaline coursing through my veins as I quickened my pace, hoping to outdistance his pursuit. "Hey, wait!" His voice cut through the night, sharp and demanding. I dared not look back, fear gripping my throat as I felt his presence closing in behind me. Instinctively, I veered toward the nearest intersection, praying for a passing car or a familiar face to rescue me from the impending danger. Before I could reach safety, a strong hand clamped down on my arm, wrenching me to a sudden halt. I cried out, the sound of fear and desperation escaping my lips as I struggled against his grip. His touch was rough, his intentions clear as he tried to pull me toward a parked car, its headlights casting an ominous glow in the darkness. "Scream all you want, sweetheart," he sneered, his breath hot against my ear. "No one's going to hear you out here." Terror coursed through me, the weight of helplessness pressing down like a suffocating blanket. In that moment, I felt utterly alone, the bustling city reduced to a deserted landscape where danger lurked in every shadow. But just as despair threatened to overwhelm me, salvation arrived in the form of my friends, emerging from the bar with concern etched on their faces. Their shouts echoed in the night, a chorus of defiance and determination as they rushed toward us, their presence a beacon of hope in my darkest hour. Startled by their sudden appearance, the man released his grip, his eyes darting between us with uncertainty. Sensing an opportunity, I broke free from his grasp, seeking refuge behind the protective circle of my friends. Enraged and outnumbered, the man hesitated for a fleeting moment before fleeing into the darkness, his footsteps fading into the night. Shaken but unharmed, I clung to my friends, their support a lifeline in the aftermath of the harrowing ordeal. Together, we called the police, recounting the terrifying encounter with trembling voices and pounding hearts. Officers arrived swiftly, their presence reassuring as they listened attentively to our account of the events. Despite their best efforts, the search yielded no immediate results. The man had vanished without a trace, leaving behind only the haunting memory of his aggression. In the days that followed, I grappled with the aftermath of the incident, fear, anger, and a lingering sense of vulnerability that refused to dissipate. The support of my friends and loved ones became my anchor, their unwavering presence a source of strength as I navigated the complexities of fear and recovery. The bar incident left an indelible mark on me, a stark reminder of the dangers that can lurk beneath the surface of seemingly mundane encounters. It prompted me to reassess my approach to personal safety, from being more vigilant in public spaces to advocating for awareness and prevention of such incidents. As time passed, the memory of that night gradually receded into the recesses of my mind, replaced by a renewed sense of resilience and empowerment. I refused to let fear dictate my choices, determined to reclaim my sense of security and the freedom to live without constant apprehension. The incident, though harrowing, ultimately became a catalyst for personal growth, a testament to the strength found in solidarity and the resilience of the human spirit in the face of adversity. It reinforced my belief in the importance of community and support, reminding me that even in our darkest moments, we are never truly alone. Story 7. The Chilling Encounter. The late-night shift at Millie's Diner was always a mixed bag of quiet lulls and occasional rushes of hungry travelers passing through the small town of Pine Hollow. Nestled just off the interstate, the diner was a haven for weary souls seeking a hot meal and a respite from the road. For me, it was a means to make ends meet, a job that paid the bills but often left me longing for the comfort of my own bed. One particularly quiet Tuesday night, the diner was unusually empty. The usual crowd of regulars who populated the booths during the day had long since retreated home, leaving only the occasional trucker or lost traveler stopping in for a cup of coffee before pushing onward into the night. I wiped down the counter absent-mindedly, the only sound the faint hum of the neon sign flickering outside the window. That's when he walked in, a man whose presence immediately set me on edge. He was tall and slender, dressed in a worn leather jacket that seemed out of place against the backdrop of our humble diner. His eyes, intense and unblinking, locked onto mine as he took a seat at the counter. "Evening," I greeted, trying to maintain a professional demeanor despite the unease gnawing at me. He didn't respond, just stared with an intensity that made my skin crawl. I glanced down at the worn menu in his hands, hoping he would order something to break the tension, but he remained silent. Minutes stretched into an eternity as he sat there, unmoving except for the occasional shift in his seat. The diner's ambience, once familiar and comforting, now felt stifling under his penetrating gaze. I busied myself with menial tasks, refilling the sugar caddies, checking on the coffee pot, anything to distract myself from his unsettling presence. Finally, after what felt like hours but was likely only minutes, he stood abruptly and turned toward the door. Relief flooded through me as he reached for the handle, ready to bid him farewell and return to the relative safety of solitude. But as he pulled open the door, he paused. Without turning back, he muttered in a low voice that sent a chill down my spine. "I'll be watching you." My breath caught in my throat as he disappeared into the night, leaving the door swinging gently on its hinges. I stood rooted to the spot, heart racing with a mixture of fear and confusion. What did he mean by those words? Was it a threat, a warning, or something else entirely? Summoning the courage to approach the counter where he had sat, I hesitantly reached out to collect his abandoned menu, searching for any trace of his unsettling presence. That's when I noticed it, a folded slip of paper tucked neatly beneath the salt shaker. With trembling hands, I unfolded the note, its words stark against the worn paper. "I'll be watching you." The letters were etched with a deliberate clarity that left no room for misinterpretation. Cold dread settled in the pit of my stomach as I realized the full weight of his words. Panic surged within me, urging me to flee, to abandon my post and seek safety far from the diner's dimly lit interior. But I forced myself to stay calm, to think logically despite the fear threatening to overwhelm me. I needed to alert someone, to share the chilling encounter that had unfolded under the flickering fluorescent lights. With trembling fingers, I dialed the Pine Hollow Sheriff's Office, my voice quavering as I recounted the events of the night. The dispatcher listened attentively, assuring me that an officer would be dispatched to the diner immediately. I hung up, heart still racing, and glanced around the empty diner, feeling exposed and vulnerable in the aftermath of the stranger's ominous visit. Minutes stretched into an agonizing eternity until the reassuring sight of flashing red and blue lights cut through the darkness outside. The officer entered with a calm presence, his uniform a symbol of safety in the face of uncertainty. I recounted the events once more, showing him the note as proof of the stranger's unsettling visit. The officer took notes diligently, his expression grave as he assured me they would increase patrols in the area and keep an eye out for any suspicious individuals matching the description I provided. He advised me to stay vigilant and promised to follow up with any developments in their investigation. After the officer left, I found myself alone once more, the diner's silence now tinged with an undercurrent of fear. The note lay discarded on the counter, a stark reminder of the stranger's cryptic message and the lingering threat it implied. I knew then that I could not return to work under such conditions, my sense of security shattered by a single encounter. The following day, I made the difficult decision to resign from my position at Millie's Diner. I couldn't shake the feeling of being watched, of the unknown threat lurking just beyond the edge of familiarity. My coworkers expressed concern and understanding, but they couldn't erase the lingering unease that had settled within me. In the days that followed, I found myself looking over my shoulder more often, jumping at sudden noises and questioning every passerby with a lingering glance. The sense of safety I had taken for granted in our close-knit community had been shattered, replaced by a hyper-awareness of potential danger lurking in the shadows. Months passed without any sign of the stranger's return, but the memory of that night continued to haunt me. I sought solace in the support of friends and family, who reassured me that I had made the right decision to prioritize my safety above all else. Eventually, I found a new job in a different town, far removed from the diner where I had encountered the mysterious stranger. The wounds left by that night had begun to heal, but the scars remained, a reminder of the fragility of security and the profound impact of a single chilling encounter on the course of a life. As I settled into my new routine, I vowed never to forget the lessons learned from that harrowing experience. I carried with me a newfound resilience, a commitment to trust my instincts, to prioritize my safety, and to remain vigilant against the shadows that lingered just beyond the edge of familiarity. And though the memory of the stranger's chilling visit would fade with time, its imprint on my life would endure, a cautionary tale of vigilance in the face of uncertainty and a testament to the enduring power of courage in the aftermath of fear. Story 8: The Vanishing Light. Driving through the desolate expanses of the remote countryside, the monotony of the road was occasionally interrupted by the sight of a tumbleweed rolling lazily across the pavement or a lonely road sign standing against the vastness of the landscape. It was a stretch of highway where time seemed to stretch indefinitely, the horizon blending seamlessly with the azure sky above. As I navigated the winding curves and long, empty straightaways, my mind wandered between the solitude of the journey and the pressing matters waiting for me at my destination. It was during one of these endless stretches, where the road seemed to disappear into the distance, that I saw him. A lone figure standing at the edge of the road, his thumb thrust hopefully into the air. Hitchhikers were a rare sight along these remote highways, and my initial instinct was to drive past him, as I usually did. Yet something about his demeanor caught my attention, a weariness in his posture, or perhaps the way his eyes scanned the passing cars with a mix of hope and resignation. Against my better judgment, I found myself easing off the accelerator and pulling over onto the shoulder of the road. The gravel crunched beneath my tires as I rolled to a stop, the hitchhiker approaching cautiously with a grateful smile etched across his weathered face. "Thanks for stopping," he said, his voice tinged with relief. "I've been waiting out here for hours." His words struck a chord within me, a twinge of sympathy for his plight and a desire to offer a helping hand. Without a word, I unlocked the passenger door, gesturing for him to climb in. He did so eagerly, settling into the seat beside me with a sigh of gratitude. As we merged back onto the highway, the silence between us was palpable, broken only by the hum of the engine and the rush of wind against the windows. I stole a glance at him from the corner of my eye, noting the rough-hewn features and the tired lines etched into his face. Despite his rugged appearance, there was a vulnerability in his eyes that spoke volumes. "Where are you headed?" I asked, breaking the silence with tentative curiosity. "West," he replied simply, his gaze fixed on the passing landscape outside. "Anywhere west." His response was cryptic, yet I sensed a reluctance to divulge more, a hesitation that hung in the air like a veil between us. Unwilling to pry further, I focused on the road ahead, the miles slipping away beneath the wheels as we ventured deeper into the heart of the wilderness. As the journey progressed, however, a subtle shift began to occur, a discomfort that crept into the confines of the car like an unwelcome guest. The hitchhiker's demeanor grew increasingly fidgety, his once grateful attitude giving way to a restlessness that set my nerves on edge. "So, what's your story?" he asked suddenly, his voice breaking the silence with an unexpected intensity. His eyes bore into mine through the rearview mirror, his expression inscrutable yet tinged with a hint of curiosity that sent a chill down my spine. Caught off guard by his abrupt question, I hesitated for a moment, unsure of how to respond. His piercing gaze seemed to strip away my defenses, probing for answers that I was reluctant to provide. Sensing my unease, he pressed further, his tone taking on a more insistent edge. "Where are you headed? What do you do?" he continued, his questions becoming more probing with each passing moment. A knot tightened in my stomach as I struggled to maintain composure, my mind racing for a polite way to deflect his inquiries without escalating the tension. "I'm just passing through," I managed to stammer, my voice betraying a hint of unease. "Heading to the next town." His response was a knowing nod, though his gaze remained fixed on me with unsettling intensity. The silence that followed was suffocating, thick with unspoken words and unspoken fears that lingered between us like a palpable presence. As we approached the outskirts of the next town, relief washed over me like a wave. Determined to end the unsettling encounter, I slowed the car to a stop at a deserted roadside gas station, the flickering neon sign casting eerie shadows across the asphalt. "This is where I'll get out," the hitchhiker announced suddenly, his voice jarring in its suddenness. Before I could respond, he opened the door and stepped out onto the gravel shoulder, his silhouette framed against the fading light of dusk. "Wait," I called out impulsively, my hand reaching out instinctively toward him. Yet he was already walking away, disappearing into the gathering gloom without a backward glance. As the dust settled and the echoes of his departure faded into silence, I let out a breath I hadn't realized I'd been holding. Relief washed over me in waves, mingled with a lingering sense of unease that refused to dissipate. It wasn't until moments later, as I reached down to retrieve a fallen object from beneath the passenger seat, that my unease turned to cold dread. Nestled among the tangle of discarded wrappers and loose change lay a gleaming blade, a knife, its edge glinting menacingly in the dim light of the gas station. A chill swept through me as I stared at the knife, the pieces of the puzzle falling into place with chilling clarity. The hitchhiker's probing questions, his unsettling demeanor, and now this, a sinister revelation hidden in plain sight. With trembling hands, I carefully retrieved the knife, a surge of adrenaline coursing through me as I realized the gravity of what had almost transpired. The realization hit me like a freight train. I had narrowly escaped a potentially dangerous encounter, my intuition serving as a silent guardian against a fate that could have easily befallen me. In the days that followed, the memory of that unsettling encounter lingered like a shadow, a haunting reminder of the dangers that lurked beneath the surface of seemingly ordinary moments. I vowed never to pick up another hitchhiker again, the knife serving as a grim memento of a lesson learned the hard way. As I reflect on that fateful drive through the remote wilderness, I am grateful for the instincts that guided me to safety and the sobering reminder of the importance of vigilance and caution. The hitchhiker, with his enigmatic presence and unsettling questions, left an indelible mark on my consciousness. A reminder that sometimes the most innocuous decisions can carry the gravest consequences. It is a memory that continues to shape my perspective on trust and personal safety, a testament to the resilience of the human spirit in the face of unforeseen peril. And as I navigate the winding roads of life, I carry with me the solemn vow never to ignore the whispers of intuition that can mean the difference between danger and escape in the face of uncertainty. Story 9. The Phantoms of Willow Creek. The crisp, cool air of early morning enveloped me as I set out on my regular jog through the tranquil park. It was a routine that brought me solace, a time to clear my mind and invigorate my body before the demands of the day took hold. The park, usually dotted with early risers and fellow fitness enthusiasts, was my sanctuary, a haven of peace amidst the bustling city. As I rounded a bend along the winding path, my gaze swept over the familiar sights, the dew-kissed grass, the playful dance of squirrels among the trees, and the soft hues of sunrise painting the sky. Yet, amidst this serene tableau, something caught my attention. A figure seated on a bench near the jogging trail. At first glance, he appeared unremarkable. A middle-aged man in casual attire, his gaze fixed intently on the path ahead. I nodded in passing, offering a polite smile as I jogged past, my footsteps echoing in the stillness of the morning. It wasn't until my second lap around the park that I noticed him again, still seated on the same bench, his eyes following my every move with unsettling intensity. A prickling unease crawled up my spine, a gut feeling that something was amiss. Ignoring the unease, I pressed on, telling myself it was nothing more than an odd coincidence. With each subsequent lap, however, my unease deepened. The man remained on the bench, his presence a silent sentinel that seemed to shadow my every step. A knot of tension tightened in my chest as I quickened my pace, the rhythmic beat of my heart syncing with the steady cadence of my footsteps. As I turned a corner, I stole a glance over my shoulder, only to find the man on the bench standing now, his gaze locked on me with unwavering intent. Alarm bells rang in my mind as I veered off the path, my instincts urging me to break away from his unwelcome scrutiny. I changed my route, taking unexpected turns and doubling back through winding trails, hoping to shake off the feeling of being watched. Yet no matter which path I chose, he was there, always a few steps behind, a silent presence that refused to be shaken. Fear gripped me as the realization sank in. The man was following me. His intentions were unknown, and his persistence was unsettling. Panic surged through me, adrenaline flooding my veins as I sprinted through the park, my pulse racing with a mix of fear and determination. Desperation guided my next move. Without hesitation, I altered my course toward the nearest police station, a beacon of safety in my hour of need. The distance seemed endless as I pushed myself to the brink, the sound of my ragged breaths echoing in the stillness of the early morning. Finally, the imposing facade of the police station loomed into view, a sanctuary amidst the uncertainty that had shattered my run. I burst through the doors, breathless and trembling, my words tumbling out in a rush as I recounted the harrowing ordeal to the officers on duty. "He's been following me," I gasped, my voice shaky with adrenaline. "I don't know who he is or what he wants." The officers, seasoned professionals with calm demeanors, listened attentively as I provided a description of the man who had pursued me through the park. They assured me that they would dispatch patrols to investigate the area and search for the individual in question. Minutes stretched into agonizing hours as I waited, my nerves frayed with tension and uncertainty. Each passing moment seemed to stretch into an eternity, the weight of fear pressing down on me like a suffocating blanket. Eventually, a senior officer approached me with a solemn expression. "We've searched the area thoroughly, but there's no sign of him," he explained gently. "I'm sorry, ma'am." Relief mingled with lingering apprehension as I absorbed his words. The man had vanished without a trace, leaving behind only unanswered questions and a lingering sense of unease. In the days that followed, I found myself looking over my shoulder more often, hyper-aware of my surroundings and wary of unfamiliar faces. The park, once a place of solace and routine, now held a shadow of uncertainty, a reminder that safety could be shattered in an instant, even in the familiar embrace of a morning jog. I never returned to that park alone, opting instead for safer, more populated routes where the presence of others offered a shield against the unknown. The incident had left an indelible mark on my psyche, a cautionary tale of vigilance and the stark reality of vulnerability in the most unexpected of places. As time passed, the memory of that chilling morning faded, replaced by a renewed sense of caution and a steadfast resolve to prioritize safety above all else. The man on the bench remained a faceless specter in my mind, an unsettling reminder of the fragile balance between peace and peril that lurked just beyond the horizon of everyday life. Story 10. The Trail of Shadows. The night had settled like a heavy blanket over the quiet streets of Willowbrook as I bid farewell to my friend's warm home. The air was crisp, carrying with it the faint scent of autumn leaves and the distant hum of the city. It was a familiar route, one I had walked countless times without incident, yet this night would forever alter my perception of safety and solitude. As I stepped onto the dimly lit sidewalk, the echo of my footsteps seemed unnaturally loud in the stillness. The occasional flicker of streetlights cast long shadows that danced along the pavement, creating an eerie ambience that sent a shiver down my spine. I had only walked a few blocks when a subtle unease crept into my awareness, a sense that I was not alone. Glancing over my shoulder, I caught a fleeting glimpse of movement, a shadowy figure blending into the darkness, keeping pace with my hurried steps. My heart raced, and I quickened my pace, hoping to shake off the uneasy feeling that gripped me. But with each hurried step, the footsteps behind me echoed in chilling synchrony. The rational part of my mind screamed warnings, urging me to find safety, to seek refuge from the creeping dread that threatened to engulf me. A glance behind confirmed my worst fear. The figure was not a figment of my imagination. A man, tall and shadowy, emerged from the darkness, his steps deliberate and unervingly steady. Panic surged through me like a tidal wave as I broke into a run, the sound of my pounding heart drowning out all other noise. Fear lent wings to my feet as I sprinted through the silent streets, Every corner turned in desperation to escape the relentless pursuit. The man's footsteps echoed ominously behind me, his presence a haunting specter in the night. A glimmer of hope flickered as the distant glow of a bustling street came into view. Adrenaline fueled my final burst of speed as I raced toward the promise of safety, my lungs burning with exertion, my mind a blur of primal instinct and terror. Just as I reached the edge of the busy thoroughfare, I dared to glance back. The man stood at the precipice of shadows, his dark silhouette frozen in eerie stillness. Our eyes locked for a fleeting moment, a chilling recognition of the danger narrowly escaped, before he turned and vanished into the enveloping darkness. Gasping for breath, I stumbled toward the welcoming glow of streetlights and the reassuring presence of passing cars. My hands trembled as I fumbled for my phone, fingers numb with shock as I dialed the emergency number, recounting the harrowing ordeal to the dispatcher on the other end. Minutes stretched into eternity as the police arrived, their presence a reassuring anchor in the tumultuous sea of my shaken nerves. The officers took my statement, their expressions grave as they assured me they would patrol the area and investigate the incident thoroughly. Days turned into weeks, and the unsettling encounter remained etched in the forefront of my thoughts. Sleep became elusive, haunted by visions of shadowy figures and footsteps echoing in the night. Each passing stranger on the street became a potential threat, every darkened corner a lurking reminder of vulnerability. Despite exhaustive efforts by law enforcement, the man remained elusive, a phantom who slipped through the fingers of justice. His identity, his motives, remained cloaked in mystery, a chilling testament to the unpredictable nature of human malevolence. Life resumed its familiar rhythm, albeit tinged with a newfound wariness and vigilance. I avoided walking alone at night, sought solace in the company of friends and well-lit streets, a cautious reassurance against the lingering specter of that fateful encounter. Yet, amidst the lingering unease, there bloomed a quiet resilience, a resolve forged in the crucible of fear and survival. Each step taken in the aftermath became a testament to courage, a refusal to be defined by fear alone. Years have passed since that chilling night, and the memory has softened with time. Yet the lessons learned remain indelible, a reminder to trust instincts, to heed the whispers of caution that echo through the shadows of uncertainty. For in that fleeting encounter, I discovered a strength born of adversity, a resilience that continues to guide me through the uncertain paths of life. And while the man who chased me remains a nameless phantom, his presence lingers as a poignant reminder of the fragility of safety, the resilience of the human spirit, and the enduring hope that shines even in the darkest of nights. Story 11. The Unwanted Visitor. Working late at the office was a common occurrence for me. The quiet solitude of an empty workspace often provided the perfect environment for focused productivity, free from the distractions of the bustling daytime hours. However, on one chilling night, the tranquility I had grown accustomed to was shattered by an unnerving encounter that would forever alter my sense of security. The clock on the wall ticked relentlessly toward midnight as I diligently worked through a stack of reports. The soft glow of my computer screen cast a pale halo over the dimly lit office. Outside, the city's nocturnal symphony hummed faintly through the closed windows, a distant backdrop to the meticulous tasks that occupied my attention. It was amidst this cocoon of quiet concentration that I first noticed it, a subtle shift in the atmosphere, a faint whisper of movement that stirred the air with unsettling uncertainty. My gaze flickered toward the office door, a solid barrier that separated me from the shadowy corridors beyond. For a fleeting moment, I dismissed the sensation as a trick of fatigue, a byproduct of long hours spent immersed in the glow of monitors and the rhythmic click of keyboards. Yet, as moments stretched into tense silence, the disquieting realization dawned upon me. The doorknob was turning, slowly, almost imperceptibly, as if testing the waters of intrusion with calculated precision. Panic seized my chest in a vice-like grip, adrenaline flooding my veins with a primal urgency that sharpened my senses to a razor's edge. "Hello?" I called out, my voice echoing faintly in the confines of the office. The doorknob halted abruptly, frozen in place as if caught in the act of intrusion. Silence greeted my inquiry, a vacuum devoid of response save for the steady thud of my racing heartbeat. My mind raced through possible scenarios. Was it a colleague working late, unaware of my presence? Or perhaps a custodian making routine rounds through the building's labyrinthine corridors? But intuition, that primal instinct honed by centuries of survival, whispered caution. A subtle warning that something was amiss, a portent of danger lurking just beyond the thin veneer of familiarity. Seconds stretched into an agonizing eternity, the oppressive stillness broken only by the soft rustle of papers stirred by the air conditioning's gentle hum. And then, as if in confirmation of my worst fears, I heard it, a soft, ragged exhalation, barely audible yet undeniably present, reverberating through the door like a spectral whisper. Terror seized my throat in a stranglehold, the realization settling like lead in the pit of my stomach. The intruder was not a benign presence, but a deliberate threat, cloaked in the darkness of obscurity and driven by motives unknown. With trembling hands, I reached for the phone, fingers fumbling against the smooth plastic as I dialed the number for building security, a lifeline in the face of impending peril. "Security!" A voice crackled through the receiver, edged with the faint static of distance. I think someone's trying to get into my office." I managed to choke out, words tumbling in a frantic rush. "I can hear them outside. Please, hurry." A reassuring promise of swift response followed, a lifeline cast in the tempest of fear that gripped my senses with icy fingers. The minutes passed like hours, each second punctuated by the oppressive weight of anticipation and the haunting echoes of an unseen presence lurking just beyond the fragile barrier of my sanctuary. Finally, the sound of approaching footsteps shattered the suffocating silence, a symphony of salvation that heralded the arrival of security personnel, their authoritative voices cutting through the veil of uncertainty like a beacon of hope. With trembling relief, I unlocked the door, greeted by the sight of uniformed figures bristling with determination and professionalism. "We received your call," one of the officers explained, his voice a steady cadence of reassurance amidst the chaos of my racing thoughts. "We'll check the area thoroughly." With practiced efficiency, they swept through the office, their flashlights slicing through the gloom with surgical precision. Minutes stretched into eternity as I stood rooted in place, a silent witness to the unfolding drama of investigation and apprehension. And then, like a sinister revelation born of a nightmare, they found him, huddled in the recesses of a stairwell adjacent to my office. His presence was a grotesque distortion of familiarity, twisted into malevolent intent. The intruder, a man whose features bore the pallor of desperation and obsession, offered no resistance as he was escorted away in the firm grasp of authority. "He's been watching you," One of the officers confided quietly, his words a chilling testament to the extent of the threat that had silently encroached upon my life for weeks, according to the man's own admission. The revelation struck with the force of a physical blow, a stark reminder of the vulnerability that had unwittingly invited danger into the sanctity of my professional domain. The man's motives remained shrouded in a veil of anonymity, his presence a haunting specter that defied rational comprehension. Police were summoned, statements taken, a labyrinthine process of bureaucracy and procedural formality that paled in comparison to the emotional tumult festering within. Questions swirled unanswered. How had he gained access? What had compelled him to target me with such single-minded determination? The days that followed were a haze of anxiety and trepidation, each passing moment punctuated by the disquieting awareness of eyes that had watched, unseen and unfathomable, from the periphery of my daily existence. Security measures were bolstered, precautions taken, a fortress of defenses erected against the invisible threat that had shattered the illusion of safety. And yet, despite the veneer of normalcy restored, a profound unease lingered, a phantom limb of fear that tingled with the memory of the intruder's presence. Sleep became a fleeting luxury, each night plagued by nightmares that revisited the horrors of that fateful encounter. The doorknob turning, the ragged breath echoing through the darkness. Time, that inexorable arbiter of healing, eventually dulled the sharp edges of trauma. The man was apprehended, his motives scrutinized by law enforcement, yet closure remained elusive, a nebulous concept adrift in a sea of unanswered questions. Life resumed its course, colored by a newfound wariness and vigilance, a testament to the fragility of security in a world shadowed by the specter of unseen threats. And as I navigated the familiar corridors of my professional existence, I carried with me the weight of that night, a cautionary tale whispered in hushed tones among colleagues, a reminder of the delicate balance between safety and vulnerability. The intruder had been apprehended, his presence expunged from the fragile sanctuary of my professional domain. Yet the scars of that harrowing night remained etched upon the fabric of my consciousness, a testament to the enduring legacy of fear and resilience in the face of darkness unseen. Story 12. The Silent Threat. It was a warm summer evening, the air alive with laughter and the distant hum of music drifting through the bustling festival grounds. Colorful lights danced above the throngs of people, casting an enchanting glow over the carnival rides and food stalls that lined the fairgrounds. I was there with a close group of friends, our spirits high as we immersed ourselves in the festivities, weaving through the crowds in search of our next adventure. As the night wore on, the energy of the festival seemed to intensify, the vibrant chaos of carnival games and live music creating a backdrop of excitement that enveloped us all. Amidst the joyful chaos, I found myself momentarily separated from my friends, swept away by a sudden surge of people that left me disoriented in the swirling sea of faces. Trying to regain my bearings, I paused near a food vendor stand, scanning the crowd for any sign of familiar faces. That's when I noticed him, a man standing a few feet away, his gaze fixed on me with an intensity that sent a shiver down my spine. He was tall and lean, dressed inconspicuously in jeans and a dark jacket that blended seamlessly with the festival crowd. "Hey there, looks like you're lost," he called out, his voice oddly calm amidst the cacophony around us. Instinctively, I took a step back, a flicker of unease creeping into my thoughts. His offer to help find my friend seemed genuine, yet something about his demeanor felt off, a subtle warning bell ringing in the back of my mind. "No thanks, I'm fine," I replied politely, trying to mask the growing sense of discomfort that prickled at my senses. I turned away, intent on navigating the crowd on my own, but a sinking feeling told me that his presence hadn't dissipated. Glancing discreetly over my shoulder, I saw him trailing behind me, his pace deliberate and unhurried. A surge of panic gripped me as I quickened my steps, weaving through clusters of festival-goers in an attempt to lose him in the crowd. Yet, no matter how many twists and turns I made, he remained a persistent shadow at my heels. The festival, once a place of joy and celebration, now felt like a labyrinth of potential danger. My heart pounded as I spotted a group of my friends ahead, their faces a welcome sight amidst the sea of strangers. With newfound determination, I pushed through the last few yards, relief flooding over me as I reached their side. I quickly explained the unsettling encounter, their expressions shifting from concern to vigilance as we scanned the crowd for any sign of the stranger. To our collective relief, he was nowhere in sight. The festival resumed its vibrant rhythm around us, but the memory of his unsettling presence lingered like a dark cloud over our gathering. We stuck together for the remainder of the evening, a tight-knit unit navigating the throngs with heightened awareness and caution. Later that night, as I returned home and settled into the quiet solitude of my room, I switched on the evening news out of habit. The cheerful anchor's voice faded into the background as a chilling headline flashed across the screen. A man had been apprehended for abducting women at festivals across the region. The image that followed sent a chill down my spine. It was him, the stranger from the festival. His face, now plastered on the screen in a mugshot, mirrored the haunting memory of our brief encounter. The reporter detailed his modus operandi, describing how he would approach women who were alone, offering assistance under the guise of goodwill before luring them away from the safety of crowds. My heart raced as I realized how narrowly I had escaped a potentially harrowing fate. My split-second decision to trust my instincts had spared me from becoming another tragic headline. The realization sank in slowly, accompanied by a wave of gratitude and disbelief. I had been lucky, blessed with friends who had unknowingly shielded me from harm's way and with instincts that had urged caution in the face of danger. Yet, the encounter left an indelible mark, a reminder of the vulnerability that lurked beneath the surface of seemingly carefree moments and the importance of staying vigilant even in the midst of joyous celebrations. In the days that followed, I shared my story with friends and family, urging caution and awareness in crowded public settings. The festival, once a beloved tradition, now carried a somber undertone, a reminder of how swiftly the illusion of safety could shatter in the presence of malevolent intent. As time passed, the memory of that night faded into the background of daily life, but its lessons remained etched in my consciousness. I became more mindful of my surroundings, more attuned to the subtle cues that could signal danger in the most unexpected places. The festival, once a place of carefree joy, had become a cautionary tale, an experience that underscored the fragility of security and the resilience of the human spirit in the face of adversity. And though I continued to attend festivals and gatherings with friends, I did so with a newfound sense of vigilance and awareness, knowing that the echoes of that fateful night would forever shape my perception of safety and trust. Story 13. The Lonely Drive. The road stretched endlessly before us, a ribbon of asphalt winding through the vast, rugged terrain. It was a spontaneous decision to embark on this journey, a quest for adventure that led my friend, Claire, and me into the heart of unfamiliar landscapes, where each mile brought new discoveries and unforeseen challenges. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting hues of crimson and gold across the western sky, Fatigue settled upon us like a heavy cloak. We knew it was time to find shelter for the night, a refuge from the relentless rhythm of the road. It was then that we stumbled upon it, a small, isolated motel nestled at the edge of a sleepy town. Its neon sign flickered like a beacon in the gathering darkness. The motel's exterior was weather-worn, its paint peeling, and its windows dimly lit by the glow of fluorescent bulbs. Despite its outward appearance, we were greeted warmly by the manager, a wiry man with a crooked smile and eyes that lingered a little too long on us. His hospitality, though tinged with a hint of unease, was a welcome reprieve after hours of driving. "We only have one room left," he informed us, his voice carrying an unsettling familiarity that sent a shiver down my spine. "But it's clean and comfortable, perfect for weary travelers like yourselves." Claire exchanged a hesitant glance with me, her unease mirrored in the furrow of her brow. Yet, the weariness of our journey prevailed, and we accepted the key with a nod of reluctant gratitude. As we made our way down the dimly lit corridor to our room, I couldn't shake the feeling of eyes watching our every move, a sensation that lingered like a whisper in the shadows. The room itself was modest and clean, its furnishings worn but serviceable. We settled in for the night, locking the door securely behind us and drawing the curtains against the inquisitive gaze of the night. Exhaustion claimed us swiftly, and soon the gentle rhythm of Claire's breathing mingled with the soft hum of the air conditioner, lulling me into a fitful slumber. It was an unsettling sound that roused me, a faint scraping at the door, so subtle that I questioned whether it was real or merely a figment of my restless imagination. My heart pounded as I lay still, straining to discern the source of the disturbance that shattered the stillness of the night. And then it came again, a distinct rattle of the doorknob, accompanied by a muffled curse that sent a surge of adrenaline coursing through my veins. Beside me, Claire stirred, her eyes widening in alarm as realization dawned upon us both. Someone was trying to enter our room. With trembling hands, I shook Claire awake, urgency propelling us into action. Without a word, we pushed the heavy dresser against the door, its weight a feeble barrier against the unseen threat that loomed just beyond our fragile sanctuary. Sweat beaded on my brow as we huddled together in the dim glow of the bedside lamp, our ears straining against the oppressive silence that followed. Outside, the night seemed to stretch on endlessly, punctuated only by the hollow echo of footsteps that prowled the corridor like a predator on the hunt. Hours passed like an eternity, each minute a testament to the terror that gripped us in its relentless embrace. At long last, as the first timid rays of dawn pierced the veil of darkness, the footsteps faded into the distance, a phantom specter retreating from the scene of its failed intrusion. We waited, breath held in fearful anticipation, until the oppressive silence finally settled upon us once more. With trembling hands, I dialed 911, my voice a whisper of desperation as I recounted the harrowing events that had unfolded in the dead of night. The dispatcher assured me that help was on the way, their voice a lifeline in the chaos that threatened to engulf us. The minutes stretched into eternity until the wail of sirens shattered the fragile peace, heralding the arrival of law enforcement and the promise of safety. Officers arrived swiftly, their presence a beacon of reassurance in the aftermath of our ordeal. With cautious determination, they swept the motel grounds, their flashlights probing the shadows for any trace of the intruder who had violated our sanctuary. It wasn't long before their search bore fruit. A man, the motel manager, was discovered lurking in the shadows near our room. His arrest was met with a collective sigh of relief. Yet the revelation of his intentions sent shockwaves through our fragile sense of security. The police informed us that the manager had a history of breaking into guest rooms, driven by motives known only to him. A chilling truth that shattered the illusion of safety we had sought within the motel's walls. As we gathered our belongings and prepared to leave, the morning sun cast a harsh light upon the scene of our narrow escape, a reminder of how close danger had come to breaching the sanctuary we had sought in our exhaustion. The motel, once a fleeting refuge on our road trip, now stood as a testament to the thin veil that separates safety from peril in the untamed landscape of the unknown. We drove away from the isolated motel, its fading silhouette a stark reminder of the night's terror that had left an indelible mark upon our shared journey. The road stretched out before us once more, a pathway to distant horizons and the promise of new adventures yet to unfold. But beneath the surface of our newfound resolve, the memory of that fateful night lingered. A cautionary tale whispered in hushed tones among friends and family, a reminder to trust our instincts and never underestimate the shadows that lurk just beyond the reach of daylight. And so, the small, isolated motel faded into the rearview mirror, its presence etched into the tapestry of our road trip. A fleeting encounter with the darkness that dwells within the human heart and the resilience that emerges in its wake. Story 14. The Midnight Encounter. The day had been long and exhausting, the usual grind of meetings and deadlines stretching late into the afternoon. As I finally left the office, the setting sun painted the sky in hues of orange and pink, casting long shadows across the familiar streets that led me home. Sliding into my car, I welcomed the solitude it offered after a hectic day. The engine hummed to life, and I navigated through rush hour traffic, my mind already drifting towards the comforts of home. A warm meal, perhaps a movie to unwind. It was then that I noticed a dark sedan in my rearview mirror, its headlights glaring brightly despite the waning daylight. At first, I dismissed it as mere coincidence, another commuter heading in the same direction. But as I made turns onto side streets, the car continued to follow, its presence becoming increasingly unsettling. A sense of unease crept into my thoughts. Why was this car following me? Was it just a coincidence? Or was there something more sinister at play? With each turn I took, the car mirrored my movements, maintaining a distance that was too close for comfort. I tried to shake off my apprehension, reminding myself of the busy streets and the multitude of other cars around me. But when I turned onto a quieter residential road, the car stayed with me, its headlights casting long shadows that danced along the pavement. Determined to dispel my growing unease, I made a sudden turn into a bustling shopping plaza, hoping the crowded parking lot would deter my pursuer. To my relief, the dark sedan slowed, hesitated, and then veered off into the flow of traffic without stopping. A sigh of relief escaped me as I watched the car disappear from view. Perhaps it had been nothing more than a coincidence after all. A driver with no particular destination following a similar route by chance. But as I pulled into my driveway later that evening, the sense of relief evaporated. There, tucked beneath the windshield wiper of my car, was a small piece of paper, a note. My heart skipped a beat as I unfolded it, revealing the words scrawled in a hurried, uneven script. "I'll be back." The chill that crept down my spine was undeniable. Who had left this note, and why? The words echoed ominously in my mind, a threat veiled in ambiguity. Fear gripped me, a primal instinct urging caution and vigilance. Without hesitation, I contacted the police, recounting the unsettling events of the evening. They listened attentively, taking notes as I described the car, the note, and the lingering unease that had settled in my gut. Officers arrived promptly, their presence a reassurance amidst the uncertainty. They inspected the note, handling it with gloved hands as they photographed it for evidence. Questions followed. Had I noticed anyone suspicious earlier in the day? Had there been any recent conflicts or threats that could explain the note? I shook my head, replaying the events of the day in my mind with heightened clarity. No conflicts, no threats, just an ordinary day that had taken a sinister turn in the quiet moments after work. The police assured me they would investigate, urging me to remain vigilant and report any further incidents immediately. They promised patrols in my neighborhood, a watchful eye to safeguard against any potential threats. Days turned into weeks, and then months. The note haunted me, its presence a constant reminder of vulnerability in the places I had once considered safe. I installed security cameras around my home, their lenses scanning every corner for signs of intrusion. Life resumed its rhythm, albeit with a shadow of caution that lingered in my daily routines. Each glance over my shoulder, each unfamiliar car in the neighborhood, sparked a surge of anxiety, an echo of that fateful day when a simple commute had turned into a chilling encounter. The police investigation yielded little progress. Despite their efforts, the note remained a cryptic message without a clear sender or motive. They interviewed neighbors, reviewed surveillance footage, but the trail grew cold, leaving me with unanswered questions and lingering fears. In the midst of uncertainty, I found solace in routine, a return to normalcy that masked the lingering unease beneath the surface. Work consumed my days, while evenings became a sanctuary behind locked doors and monitored windows. Yet despite my best efforts to move forward, the note continued to haunt me, a specter that loomed over every quiet moment, an unguarded glance. Who had left it? What did they want? The unanswered questions gnawed at me, a puzzle with pieces that refused to fit together. Months turned into years, the passage of time softening the sharp edges of fear into a cautious vigilance. The note remained a distant memory, a reminder of resilience in the face of uncertainty, a testament to the strength found in confronting the unknown. Life moved on, as it always does, carrying with it the scars of past encounters and the resilience forged in their wake. The note had faded from the forefront of my thoughts, replaced by new experiences and challenges that demanded attention. Yet on quiet nights, when the streets were hushed and the world seemed to hold its breath, I would find myself glancing at the note, tucked away in a drawer, a relic of a moment when safety had been shattered and the fragility of peace laid bare. And though the sender remained a mystery, their words lingered, a whispered promise that echoed through the years, a reminder to remain vigilant, even in the sanctuary of familiar surroundings. Story 15. The Follower in the Crowd. The fluorescent lights buzzed overhead, casting a sterile glow over the aisles of the grocery store as I navigated my way through the familiar shelves. It was late, well past midnight, and the usual hustle and bustle of daytime shoppers had long since faded into the quiet solitude of the night. The air was heavy with the scent of fresh produce and the faint hum of refrigerators, creating an atmosphere that was both eerie and strangely comforting. As I reached for a box of cereal on the shelf, a prickling sensation crawled up my spine, a subtle awareness that I was being watched. Glancing around discreetly, I noticed a man lingering a few aisles over, his gaze fixed intently on me. He didn't seem to be shopping. Instead, he stood motionless, his presence unnervingly still amidst the aisles filled with neatly stacked goods. A shiver of unease rippled through me as I continued my shopping, trying to shake off the sensation that his eyes were following my every move. Each time I glanced in his direction, I found him watching me, his expression inscrutable in the harsh glare of the overhead lights. Was it mere coincidence, or was there something more sinister lurking beneath his passive demeanor? Deciding to trust my instincts, I hastened my pace, grabbing the essentials I needed and making a beeline for the checkout counter. The presence of other shoppers provided a thin veil of reassurance, their casual browsing and chatter a stark contrast to the unsettling tension that coiled in the pit of my stomach. As I approached the exit, I stole a glance over my shoulder, heart racing with a mix of fear and trepidation. There he was, still trailing behind me with an unsettling persistence, his steps measured and deliberate. Panic tightened its grip on my chest, urging me to quicken my pace as I reached the sliding glass doors leading out into the parking lot. The cool night air hit me like a welcome reprieve as I stepped outside, the automatic doors sliding shut behind me with a soft hiss. My car, a comforting beacon of safety, waited just a few rows away. I fumbled for my keys, hands trembling as I unlocked the door and hastily climbed inside, locking it behind me with a shaky click. But before I could exhale a sigh of relief, I saw him emerging from the shadows, his figure illuminated briefly by the flickering light of a nearby lamppost. He moved with purpose, closing the distance between us with unnerving speed. Fear surged through me, a primal instinct urging me to escape, to scream for help before it was too late. Desperation lent strength to my voice as I unleashed a piercing scream, the sound echoing through the deserted parking lot like a beacon of distress. Adrenaline coursed through my veins, heightening my senses as I braced for the worst, my heart pounding in my ears. The man hesitated momentarily, startled by my outcry. It was a fleeting moment of uncertainty, a window of opportunity that my survival instincts seized upon. Sensing a chance to escape, I lunged for the gear shift, my trembling hands fumbling to start the engine. The roar of the car's ignition filled the air, a cacophony of sound that shattered the eerie stillness of the night. In a swift motion, I slammed my foot on the accelerator, the tires screeching against the pavement as I tore out of the parking lot with reckless abandon. Behind me, I caught a fleeting glimpse of the man standing frozen in my rearview mirror, his silhouette shrinking into the distance as I raced away from the danger that had stalked me. Breathless and trembling, I sped toward the nearest police station, my mind a whirlwind of fear and adrenaline-fueled determination. The journey felt endless, each passing moment fraught with the haunting memory of his unwavering gaze and the chilling realization of how narrowly I had escaped harm. At the police station, I recounted the harrowing encounter to officers who listened attentively, their expressions a mix of concern and solemn resolve. They took my statement with meticulous care, documenting every detail of the man's appearance and behavior. Despite their assurances and diligent efforts to locate him, the search yielded no immediate results. He had vanished into the night, leaving behind only the lingering fear of what might have been. In the days that followed, I grappled with the aftermath of the ordeal. Sleepless nights haunted by vivid nightmares, a constant vigilance that tinged even the most mundane tasks with a sense of apprehension. The support of loved ones became my lifeline, their unwavering presence a source of strength as I navigated the turbulent waters of fear and recovery. The grocery store incident left an indelible mark on me, a stark reminder of the vulnerability that lurks beneath the surface of everyday life. It prompted me to reassess my approach to personal safety, from practicing heightened awareness in public spaces to advocating for awareness and prevention of such incidents. As time passed, the raw edges of fear began to soften, replaced by a renewed sense of resilience and empowerment. I refused to let fear dictate my choices, determined to reclaim my sense of security and embrace life with a renewed appreciation for the precious gift of safety. The experience, though harrowing, ultimately became a catalyst for personal growth, a testament to the strength found in resilience and the unwavering resolve of the human spirit in the face of adversity. It reinforced my belief in the power of community and support, reminding me that even in our darkest moments, we are never truly alone. Story 16. The Man in the Dark Sedan. The night air was unusually still as I set out with my loyal dog, Max, for our nightly walk through the quiet neighborhood streets. The stars overhead twinkled softly, and the cool breeze carried the faint sounds of distant traffic and the rustling of leaves, a serene backdrop to our familiar routine. Max trotted happily beside me, his leash slack in my hand as we followed our usual path. The occasional porch light cast gentle pools of illumination on the pavement, offering a sense of comfort in the darkness. As we rounded a corner and entered a quieter stretch of the neighborhood, a subtle unease began to creep up my spine. I glanced over my shoulder, half expecting to find nothing but the lingering shadows cast by the dim streetlights. Instead, I caught a glimpse of movement, a shadowy figure that seemed to materialize from the darkness itself. My heart skipped a beat as I quickened my pace, a knot of apprehension tightening in my chest. The figure remained several paces behind, shrouded in the cloak of night, yet unmistakably there, a silent sentinel in our nocturnal journey. Instinctively, I altered our course, turning onto a different street in hopes of shaking off the unnerving presence. But with each turn, the figure persisted, a relentless shadow that mirrored our every move with unsettling precision. Anxiety coiled like a serpent in my gut as I debated my next move. Max, sensing my unease, glanced up at me with concerned eyes, his ears perked in alertness. His presence was a comforting anchor amidst the rising tide of fear that threatened to overwhelm me. As we approached a familiar intersection, I made a split-second decision to head home, my footsteps quickening into a hurried pace. Yet the figure behind us matched my stride, closing the distance with a chilling determination that sent a shiver down my spine. Panic surged through me like a thunderclap, and I broke into a run, Max bounding alongside me with equal urgency. The sound of pounding footsteps echoed ominously behind us, a chilling testament to the unseen threat that pursued us through the deserted streets. Heart pounding in my ears, I scanned the dimly lit houses for any sign of life, any refuge from the encroaching danger. Desperation lent wings to my feet as I sprinted toward the nearest house, my breath coming in ragged gasps, adrenaline fueling every stride. With trembling hands, I pounded on the door, the sound reverberating through the silent night like a desperate plea for salvation. Seconds stretched into eternity as I waited, heart hammering against my rib cage, praying for a response, for sanctuary from the lurking menace that shadowed our every move. Finally, the door swung open, revealing a startled neighbor peering out into the night, their expression a mix of concern and confusion. "Please," I managed to gasp between heaving breaths, "there's someone following us. I need help." Without hesitation, the neighbor ushered us inside, their voice a calm reassurance amidst the storm of fear and uncertainty. They closed the door behind us, casting a wary glance towards the silent darkness beyond the threshold. I recounted the harrowing ordeal to the neighbor, the words tumbling out in a rush of adrenaline-fueled urgency. Their brow furrowed with concern as they listened, offering words of comfort and solidarity in the face of the unknown threat that lurked just beyond their doorstep. Minutes stretched into agonizing uncertainty as we waited, listening for any sign of the pursuer who had vanished into the night like a phantom. The neighbor assured me they would call the police, their voice steady and reassuring amidst the lingering fear that gripped us all. When the authorities arrived, their presence was a welcome relief, a tangible reassurance of safety and protection in the aftermath of a chilling encounter. Officers took my statement, their expressions grim as they assured me they would patrol the area and investigate the incident thoroughly. Days turned into weeks, yet the unsettling encounter remained a haunting specter in the recesses of my mind. Sleep became elusive, haunted by visions of shadowy figures and footsteps echoing in the night. Each passing stranger on the street became a potential threat, every darkened corner a reminder of vulnerability and the need for vigilance. Despite exhaustive efforts by law enforcement, the figure who had pursued us remained elusive, a nameless phantom who slipped through the fingers of justice. His motives, his identity, remained cloaked in mystery, a chilling testament to the unpredictable nature of human malevolence. Life gradually resumed its familiar rhythm, albeit tinged with a newfound wariness and caution. I avoided walking alone at night, sought solace in the company of friends and well-lit streets, a cautious reassurance against the lingering specter of that fateful encounter. Yet amidst the lingering unease, there bloomed a quiet resilience, a resolve forged in the crucible of fear and survival. Each step taken in the aftermath became a testament to courage, a testament to refusing to be defined by fear alone. Years have passed since that chilling night, and the memory has softened with time. Yet the lessons learned remain indelible, a reminder to trust instincts, to heed the whispers of caution that echo through the shadows of uncertainty. For in that fleeting encounter, I discovered a strength born of adversity, a resilience that continues to guide me through the uncertain paths of life. And while the man who followed us remains a nameless phantom, his presence lingers as a poignant reminder of the fragility of safety, the resilience of the human spirit, and the enduring hope that shines even in the darkest of nights. Story 17. The Watcher in the Woods. The hotel lobby buzzed with the controlled chaos of arriving guests, a symphony of clicking suitcases and hushed conversations blending into the background hum of elevator music. The polished marble floors and gleaming chandeliers exuded an air of luxury, offering a sanctuary for weary travelers seeking respite from the hustle and bustle of the outside world. I had checked into the hotel earlier that evening, my arrival coinciding with the fading hues of twilight that bathed the city in a soft, ethereal glow. The allure of plush bedding and a hot shower beckoned after a long day of meetings and travel delays, promising a brief reprieve before the demands of business resumed the next morning. As I settled into the comfort of my room, the soft glow of lamplight casting warm shadows across the tastefully appointed furnishings, a wave of relief washed over me. The air conditioning hummed softly in the background, a soothing counterpoint to the distant clatter of room service trays and the occasional echo of laughter down the hallway. Exhaustion tugged at my eyelids as I sank into the welcoming embrace of the plush mattress, the city beyond the window fading into oblivion, punctuated only by the occasional flicker of passing headlights and the distant pulse of nightlife. Somewhere in the depths of sleep, a distant sound roused me, a soft click followed by the faint creak of hinges, as if someone were attempting to open my door. Disoriented, I blinked away the remnants of sleep, my heart pounding as a surge of adrenaline coursed through me. For a fleeting moment, I lay frozen in bed, uncertainty lingering in the air like a spectral presence. Was it merely a trick of the mind, a product of an overactive imagination fueled by the unfamiliarity of a new environment? Or had someone truly ventured into the sanctity of my room, their intentions shrouded in shadow? Summoning the courage to investigate, I slipped out of bed with cautious steps, the cool touch of the hardwood floor against my bare feet sending a shiver down my spine. Moving toward the door, I peered through the peephole, my breath bated, my pulse quickening at the sight that greeted me on the other side. There, illuminated in the soft glow of emergency lighting, stood a figure, a man, his features obscured by the dimness of the hallway. In his hand, he held a small plastic card, its reflective surface catching the ambient light like a beacon of suspicion. Fear tightened its grip around my chest as realization dawned. A stranger armed with a master key card stolen from the hotel staff had attempted to breach the sanctity of my room. Panic threatened to overwhelm me as I struggled to comprehend the gravity of the situation, the implications of an unauthorized entry echoing like a warning in the recesses of my mind. Reacting on instinct, I raised my voice in a shout, the sound reverberating through the door with a clarity that cut through the stillness of the night. "Hey, what are you doing?" I called out, my voice trembling with a mixture of fear and righteous indignation. Startled, the intruder turned toward my door, his eyes widening in surprise before a swift bolt of movement carried him away from my line of sight. The click of footsteps echoed down the hallway, fading into the distance like a phantom's retreat as he vanished into the labyrinthine corridors of the hotel. Heart racing, I fumbled for my phone, fingers trembling as I dialed the front desk with urgent precision. "There's someone trying to break into my room," I managed to articulate, my voice betraying a mixture of panic and disbelief. "Send security now." Seconds stretched into eternity as I waited, the silence punctuated only by the rapid beat of my heart and the distant murmur of voices as the night staff sprang into action. Moments later, the heavy tread of footsteps heralded the arrival of hotel security, their presence a reassuring beacon of authority amidst the chaos. Together, we recounted the harrowing events that had transpired. A stranger armed with a stolen master key card, their brazen attempt to gain access to my room shattering the illusion of safety that had enveloped the hotel like a fragile cocoon. The gravity of the situation was not lost on the security team, their expressions grim as they assessed the breach in protocol that had allowed such a lapse in security to occur. The hours that followed were a blur of statements and inquiries, the police summoned to investigate the incident with a diligence that mirrored my own mounting sense of unease. It was revealed that the intruder had exploited a moment of distraction on the part of a staff member, seizing the opportunity to swipe a master key card from an unattended desk, a lapse in vigilance that had nearly cost me dearly. Despite their efforts, the police investigation yielded little in the way of concrete leads, the intruder evading capture like a specter in the night. Yet the hotel was swift to enact measures aimed at bolstering security, a reassurance that echoed with a semblance of closure amidst the lingering unease. In the days that followed, I found myself grappling with the aftermath of that fateful night, a renewed awareness of personal safety and the sobering reality of vulnerability in unfamiliar surroundings. The memory of the intruder's attempted entry lingered like a shadow, a reminder of the fragile balance between security and the unforeseen perils that lurk just beyond the threshold. As I checked out of the hotel, the weight of those hours spent in fear and uncertainty clung to me like a second skin, a testament to the resilience of the human spirit in the face of unforeseen danger. And as I navigated the threshold of the lobby, I carried with me a newfound appreciation for the sanctuary of home and an unyielding resolve to safeguard the sanctity of personal space against all odds. Story 18. The Vanished Stranger. The night had settled in with a quiet intensity, the only sound breaking the silence being the occasional creak of the old house settling. I had always enjoyed the solitude of my home, finding comfort in the familiar creaks and groans that accompanied its aging structure. But on that particular night, the tranquility was shattered by a noise that sent a shiver down my spine. A faint scraping sound emanating from the direction of the basement. I froze, the hairs on the back of my neck prickling with unease. It was a sound I couldn't easily dismiss, a subtle disturbance in the usual rhythm of the night that demanded attention. With cautious steps, I made my way toward the basement door, heart pounding in anticipation of what I might find below. The basement was dimly lit, the feeble glow of a single bulb casting long shadows that danced ominously along the walls. As I descended the creaking stairs, a chill swept through me, a premonition of the unknown awaiting me in the depths below. The basement was cluttered with boxes and forgotten relics of years past, their outlines obscured in the dim light. I scanned the room, searching for the source of the noise that had drawn me here. My eyes fell upon the basement window, slightly ajar, its wooden frame askew. Alarm bells rang in my mind, and I knew with sinking certainty that I hadn't left that window open. Fear tightened its grip on my chest, urging me to flee, but curiosity and a sense of duty propelled me forward. I approached the window cautiously, peering out into the darkness beyond. Nothing stirred in the moonlit yard, yet the sense of unease persisted, a feeling that I was being watched, that unseen eyes bore down upon me with intent. I turned to leave, my nerves frayed and pulse quickening, when a sound, a soft, deliberate footfall, echoed behind me. I spun around, heart in my throat, but the basement remained eerily silent, save for the distant hum of the furnace. My breath came in shallow gasps as I struggled to regain my composure, the sensation of being watched intensifying with each passing moment. With trembling hands, I reached for the basement door, my mind racing with thoughts of escape and safety. As I ascended the stairs, however, the unsettling feeling persisted, a lingering presence that seemed to shadow my every move. I had barely reached the top of the stairs when the sound of footsteps, distinct and purposeful, reverberated through the house, confirming my worst fears. Panic seized me, adrenaline flooding my veins as I sprinted through the darkened hallway, my only thought to reach safety. I darted into the nearest room, the bathroom, and slammed the door shut behind me, fumbling with trembling hands to lock it securely. The room felt like a refuge amidst the chaos unfolding outside, a sanctuary where I could gather my thoughts and summon help. With shaking fingers, I dialed emergency services, my voice strained as I relayed the harrowing events unfolding in real time. "Someone's in my house," I managed to choke out, the words catching in my throat as the gravity of the situation sunk in. The dispatcher reassured me with calm efficiency, instructing me to remain barricaded until help arrived. Minutes stretched into agonizing eternity as I waited, each passing second punctuated by the ominous creaks and rustlings that echoed through the house. Then, the distant wail of sirens pierced the night, a beacon of hope amidst the fear that threatened to overwhelm me. Relief washed over me in a dizzying wave as the sound drew nearer, a promise of safety and sanctuary in the face of uncertainty. The police arrived swiftly, their presence a welcome reassurance in the aftermath of chaos. With cautious precision, they swept through the house, flashlights probing every shadow and corner in search of the intruder who had violated the sanctity of my home. It wasn't long before their efforts bore fruit, a tense whisper of voices followed by the unmistakable sound of handcuffs clicking into place. They emerged from the basement, escorting a man with a disheveled appearance and wild eyes. A stranger whose presence had brought terror to my doorstep. "He's been breaking into houses in the area," one of the officers explained, his voice a mixture of relief and grim determination. "We found evidence linking him to several recent burglaries." The realization sent a chill down my spine. The man, unknown and intent on harm, had been lurking in the shadows of my home, his intentions sinister and his actions a stark reminder of the vulnerability that lurked beneath the facade of safety. As the police led him away, I breathed a shaky sigh of relief, gratitude mingled with lingering unease. I had been fortunate that I had heard the noise, fortunate that help had arrived in time, and fortunate that the night hadn't ended in tragedy. In the days that followed, I took measures to bolster the security of my home, installing locks and alarms to fortify its defenses against future threats. Yet the memory of that fateful night lingered, a haunting reminder of the fragility of safety and the resilience required to reclaim it. I never forgot the sound of footsteps in the darkness, nor the terror that had gripped me in its wake. It was a lesson learned in vigilance and the stark reality of dangers unseen, an experience that would forever alter my perception of security and the sanctity of home. Story 19. The Dark Woods Encounter. Walking home alone at night was never my preferred activity, but on that particular evening, it turned into a harrowing ordeal that would forever change my perception of safety and security. The night had begun innocently enough. A casual gathering with friends, laughter ringing through the air, creating a fragile cocoon of camaraderie. But as the hours slipped away and the revelry waned, I found myself navigating the quiet streets alone, a solitary figure in a city shrouded by the cloak of darkness. The party had dispersed hours ago, leaving me to navigate the labyrinthine streets by myself. The echoes of distant laughter faded into the background, replaced by the rhythmic cadence of my footsteps against the pavement, the solitary percussion in the symphony of nocturnal stillness. Streetlights cast elongated shadows that danced along the edges of my vision, imbuing the familiar surroundings with an eerie semblance of unreality. It was amidst this fragile veneer of tranquility that I first noticed him, a fleeting presence at the periphery of my awareness, a shadowy figure that mirrored my every step with unsettling precision. At first, I dismissed it as a trick of the imagination, a manifestation of paranoia born from the solitary confines of the night. But as I quickened my pace, so did he, a relentless specter in pursuit of an unwitting prey. Adrenaline surged through my veins, a primal instinct honed by millennia of survival, a visceral reaction to the encroaching threat that loomed ever closer with each passing moment. Panic threatened to consume me, a visceral response to the palpable danger that lurked just beyond the reach of my senses. With frantic resolve, I turned sharply into an alley, a desperate gambit to evade my pursuer, to obscure my presence within the labyrinthine depths of urban anonymity. The alley stretched before me like a yawning chasm, its narrow confines suffused with the acrid scent of refuse and the distant echoes of urban decay. I pressed myself against a cold brick wall, heart hammering against my ribs in a staccato rhythm of fear and apprehension. Seconds stretched into agonizing eternity, a suspended tableau of anticipation and dread. And then, like a chilling harbinger of impending doom, he appeared. A shadowy silhouette at the mouth of the alley, framed by the faint glow of distant streetlights. His features were obscured by the veil of darkness, a malevolent specter cloaked in the guise of anonymity and menace. A shiver of apprehension coursed through me, a silent acknowledgement of the dire straits that had befallen me. His approach was deliberate, footsteps echoing ominously against the cobblestones as he closed the distance with predatory grace. In his hand, the cold metallic gleam of a knife caught the dim light, a grim testament to the desperation driving him to pursue his unwitting prey with unwavering determination. "Your wallet," he demanded, his voice a rasp edged with the faint tremor of desperation and resolve. The words hung heavy in the air, a chilling ultimatum that resonated with the weight of impending peril. With trembling hands, I fumbled for my wallet, a futile attempt to placate the insatiable hunger of a predator stalking the fringes of the urban jungle. I placed the wallet on the ground before me, a silent offering born of resignation and survival instinct. He snatched it with feral intensity, fingers closing around the leather with avaricious fervor, and then, as swiftly as he had appeared, he vanished into the labyrinthine recesses of the night, a specter retreating into the shadows, leaving behind a trail of uncertainty and fear in his wake. I stood rooted in place, the echoes of his departure reverberating through the alley like a haunting refrain. Fear gripped my senses with icy fingers, a visceral reminder of the fragility of existence in a world fraught with unseen perils. Slowly, cautiously, I emerged from the sanctuary of the alley, eyes scanning the deserted expanse of the urban landscape with heightened vigilance. Minutes stretched into hours as I retraced my steps toward the familiarity of home, a sanctuary now tinged with the specter of violated security and unbridled fear. The police were summoned, statements were taken, a bureaucratic tapestry woven with threads of apprehension and the lingering specter of what might have been. Yet despite their assurances and promises of diligence, closure remained elusive, a nebulous concept adrift in a sea of unanswered questions. Days turned into weeks, each passing moment colored by the haunting memory of that fateful encounter. Sleep became a fleeting luxury, each night plagued by nightmares that revisited the horrors of that solitary alley, a chilling tableau of fear and vulnerability etched into the fabric of my consciousness. Life resumed its course, albeit with newfound wariness and vigilance, a testament to the enduring legacy of that harrowing night. The streets, once traversed with carefree abandon, now bore the weight of suspicion, each passing stranger a potential threat, every shadow a specter of unseen danger. And as I navigated the familiar corridors of my daily existence, I carried with me the scars of that fateful encounter, a cautionary tale whispered in hushed tones among friends and family, a reminder of the fragile boundary between safety and peril. The alley had been a crucible of fear and survival, a stark reminder of the vulnerability that lurked beneath the veneer of urban anonymity. Yet amidst the echoes of that harrowing night, there bloomed a quiet resolve, a resilience forged in the crucible of adversity and fear. The specter of that solitary alley would forever haunt the recesses of my consciousness, a chilling testament to the fragility of security in a world shadowed by the unseen perils that lurk just beyond the reach of familiarity. Story 20. The Man with the Keycard. The small town of Willow Creek, nestled comfortably amid rolling hills and thick forests, exuded a quaint charm that belied its darker undercurrents. It was a place where the whispers of rustling leaves and the echo of distant streams mingled with tales of local lore and hidden mysteries. My visit to Willow Creek was meant to be a tranquil getaway, a chance to reconnect with old friends and immerse myself in the simplicity of rural life. My friend Sarah had grown up here, often regaling me with stories of childhood adventures amidst the towering pines and secluded trails that crisscrossed the surrounding woods. One crisp autumn morning, Sarah suggested we explore the woods on the outskirts of town, promising it would unveil hidden gems of natural beauty and quiet solitude. Eager for adventure, I readily agreed, lacing up my hiking boots and donning a jacket against the cool breeze that whispered through the leaves. The forest welcomed us with open arms, its earthy scent mingling with the crisp tang of fallen leaves underfoot. Sunlight filtered through the canopy above, dappling the forest floor with patches of golden warmth. Sarah led the way with the assured stride of someone intimately familiar with every twist and turn of the winding trails. As we ventured deeper into the woods, the rustling of wildlife and occasional bird call provided a comforting soundtrack to our journey. Yet, with each passing mile, the landscape seemed to subtly change, the trees growing denser, the shadows lengthening as daylight waned. It was in this shifting tapestry of light and shadow that we stumbled upon it. An old, weather-beaten house, its windows boarded up and roof sagging with neglect. The structure stood like a forgotten relic amidst the encroaching wilderness, its presence a stark contrast to the vibrant woods that surrounded it. Intrigued, and perhaps touched with apprehension, we approached cautiously, the crunch of dry leaves underfoot betraying our hesitant steps. Through a crack in the boarded-up window, we caught a glimpse of movement, a flicker of shadows that danced ominously against the dim interior. "What do you think they're doing in there?" I whispered, my voice barely audible over the rustling leaves and the sudden hammering of my heart. Sarah's brow furrowed with concern as she peered through the gap, her eyes widening in alarm. "I'm not sure," she replied in a hushed tone, "but we shouldn't stay here." Before we could retreat, our eyes met those of the figures inside, men whose presence radiated an air of clandestine purpose. Their faces were obscured in shadow, their movements deliberate and eerily synchronized. As they turned towards us, their gazes locked onto ours with unsettling intensity. Fear surged through me like a torrential wave as Sarah and I exchanged a wordless understanding, a silent agreement that it was time to leave. With hearts pounding in unison, we turned and fled, the urgency of our footsteps echoing through the silent woods. Behind us, the men erupted into motion, their pursuit swift and relentless. Branches whipped at our faces, and roots snagged at our ankles as we navigated the treacherous terrain with desperate haste. The sound of pounding footsteps grew louder, a haunting reminder of the danger that pursued us through the labyrinthine woods. Adrenaline fueled our flight as we darted through the underbrush, every instinct screaming at us to find safety, to outrun the looming threat that shadowed our every move. The forest blurred around us, a swirl of greens and browns, sunlight and shadow, as we raced towards the distant promise of sanctuary. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, we burst through the tree line and onto the main road, our chests heaving with exertion, our lungs burning for precious air. The familiar sights and sounds of civilization greeted us, a passing car, the distant murmur of voices, offering a reassuring contrast to the wilderness we had just escaped. With trembling hands, I reached for my phone, fingers fumbling as I dialed emergency services, recounting our harrowing ordeal in breathless urgency. Sarah stood beside me, her expression a mix of relief and lingering apprehension as we awaited the arrival of help. Minutes stretched into an anxious eternity as police officers arrived, their presence a welcome reassurance amidst the lingering fear that clung to us like a shadow. We recounted our encounter, the abandoned house, the suspicious activity, the chilling pursuit through the woods, each word a testament to the terror that had momentarily gripped us. Law enforcement assured us they would investigate the old house and the men who had chased us, their expressions grave as they pledged to patrol the area and follow any leads that might shed light on the sinister activities we had stumbled upon. In the days that followed, news spread through Willow Creek like wildfire, casting a pall of unease over the once idyllic town. Rumors swirled about the abandoned house, a rumored haunt of a local gang engaged in illicit activities ranging from drug trafficking to organized crime. Sarah and I, grateful to have escaped unscathed, found ourselves haunted by the memory of that fateful day. Sleep became elusive, plagued by visions of shadowy figures and footsteps echoing through the night. Each rustle of leaves outside our windows, each passing stranger on the street, reignited the specter of fear that had momentarily shattered our sense of security. Despite exhaustive efforts by law enforcement, the men who had pursued us remained elusive, a nameless threat that lingered on the fringes of Willow Creek's tranquil facade. Their motives, their identities, remained cloaked in mystery, a chilling reminder of the unpredictable nature of human malevolence. Life gradually resumed its familiar rhythm, yet the memory of our harrowing encounter continued to shape our perspectives, a sobering reminder of the fragility of safety and the importance of vigilance. Sarah and I found solace in each other's company, in the steadfast bond forged amidst the crucible of fear and survival. Years have passed since that chilling day in the woods, and the memory has softened with time. Yet, the lessons learned remain indelible, a testament to the resilience of the human spirit, the importance of trusting instincts, and the enduring hope that shines even in the darkest of moments. In that fleeting encounter amidst the whispering trees and haunting shadows, Sarah and I discovered a strength born of adversity, a resilience that continues to guide us through the uncertain paths of life. And while the old house and its secrets may fade into the mists of memory, the echoes of that day linger, a poignant reminder of the enduring power of courage, friendship, and the unwavering determination to forge ahead, even in the face of adversity.